Welcome to this day in His story, a daily reminder that the Lord's hand is in every chapter of time, created by American heritage worldwide. Today, November 10th, we are celebrating the 250th birthday of the U.S. Marine Corps. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. Today we're tackling, well, a really big topic.
Wow.
The history, the culture, the traditions of the United States Marine Corps. And you, our listener, you sent us some fascinating sources that honestly go way beyond just military history. They touch on structure, loyalty, things that apply everywhere. So our mission today, we're going to dig into the surprising origins. I mean, who knew they were actually disbanded for a while? We'll look at key figures like the Marines Marine and those really specific ceremonies, all to kind of figure out how that Semper Fidelis spirit has lasted almost 250 years. We're connecting the dots, from a pub in Philly to, well, modern ideas about holding things together.
Yeah, it's really an exploration of how an institution remembers. It's fascinating. When you look at something spanning like 2.5 centuries, it's not just what happened, it's how they decided to remember certain moments, how they codified them.
Yeah.
And often it boils down to these really specific anchors, a single date, maybe one order, and that becomes the bedrock.
Okay, so let's start right there at that bedrock. Give us the absolute beginning, the Genesis moment.
All right. The story really kicks off November 10th, 1775. That's the day the Second Continental Congress officially greenlit the Continental Marines. And, when we talk about those very first enlistments, they actually happened somewhere pretty specific.
Tun Tavern, right, in Philadelphia.
Exactly, Tun Tavern, which was, a hub back then. People met there, did business. So it literally became the starting point.
And what was their first job? They weren't hitting the beaches straight away, were they?
No, not quite like that. Their initial charge, the official language, was to become so acquainted with maritime affairs as to be able to serve for and during the present war with Great Britain and the colonies. So they were really created as a specialized force for the sea, supporting the Navy, ship security, crucial stuff during the Revolution.
Okay, that sets the scene for the Revolutionary War. But here's this, massive historical curveball. You mentioned it, the fact they vanished for a bit.
They absolutely did. It's a part of the story many people miss. When the war ended in 1783, the Continental Navy was basically dissolved. And the Marines, the Continental Marines went right along with them. Poof, disbanded.
15 years.
15 years. The organization just stopped existing.
Wow. That's kind of astounding to be so foundational during the war and then just gone. But thankfully, they did come back. It took President John Adams, right? July 11, 1798.
That's the date. He signed the act that brought the Marine Corps back into existence, mostly out of necessity, as the U.S. started dealing with international stuff again on the seas.
Which brings us to this paradox almost. Founded in 75, reestablished in 98. So why is November 10th still the birthday?
Because the idea of an official birthday celebration came much, much later.
Like nearly 150 years later, wasn't it?
Exactly. It wasn't formalized until 1921, and that brings a really key figure into the picture, Major General John A. Lejeune.
Lejeune,
right,
often called the Marines Marine. He was the commandant back in 1921, and he's the one who basically said, okay, this scattered history, we're anchoring it. November 10th is the day. And he did that with his famous birthday message.
Yeah, and his background is pretty incredible. Lejeune served for nearly 40 years, and he did something really rare. He actually commanded a U.S. Army division, the 2nd Division, during World War I. That cross-branch command, especially in major battles, gave him huge respect. After his service, he even became superintendent of VMI, the Virginia Military Institute. And of course, Camp Lejeune is named for him. A huge legacy.
But it wasn't just like a suggestion, hey, let's have a party on the 10th, right? He used an official order to make it stick.
He did. Marine Corps Order 47. And this wasn't just a casual memo. It was a formal summary, history, mission, traditions, all laid out. But the crucial part was the instruction. Order 47 had to be read aloud.
To all Marines.
To all Marines. Every single year on November 10th. No exceptions.
Yeah.
That act, that mandatory reading, ensures every generation connects directly with their heritage. It's designed to, prevent forgetting. Institutional memory, locked in.
That's fascinating. Moving from just knowing a date to making it a mandatory ritual, that really elevates it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From dates and orders to the things that really define their culture day to day. The symbols, the language, starting with the motto.
Right. Semper Fidelis. It was adopted in 1883. Latin, obviously, means always faithful or always loyal. And it's generally seen as expressing this Absolute commitment to the country, yes, but maybe just as importantly, loyalty to each other, Marine to Marine.
And that loyalty is so core it even became music, didn't it? John Philip Sousa.
Yeah. Semper Fidelis is also the title of the official march of the Marine Corps. Sousa, the March King, composed it in 1889. The fact that Sousa wrote their march says a lot about how much they value that sense of identity and ceremony.
And you see that spirit in how they talk to each other, too.
Definitely. Marines often use the short form, right? Semper Fi.
Yeah, and the sources describe it really well. It's not just shorthand. It's like a perspective, a mentality, an attitude. It packs in respect, pride, commitment, all in 2 words.
In the response. Rah. And that's distinct, right? It's crucial not to mix it up with the Army or Air Force hooah or the Navy Coast Guard hooah. Each sound is its own badge of identity.
Okay, let's talk visuals. The emblem. What's the story there?
The emblem's pretty powerful visually. You've got the Western Hemisphere laid over an anchor and chain, and then an eagle with spread wings on top. Their official colors, too, are very distinct. Scarlet, red, and gold. Very bold.
And the nickname, Leathernecks. That sounds like it has a story.
Oh, it does. It's very practical, actually. It comes straight from the old uniforms, 18th and 19th century. Today's dress uniform has that high standing collar, right? Well, that's a descendant of an actual tall leather neck piece they used to wear.
Made of leather.
Yep. Apparently, it did 2 things. Offered some protection against sword cuts, maybe, but also just gave the uniform collar a real stiffness and structure. It was functional. Tough.
Huh. Functional armor becoming a nickname. I like that. All right, let's move to the ultimate expression of tradition. The birthday celebration itself. How did that evolve?
It grew over time. The sources mention 1923 as an example. You had Marines at Fort Mifflin holding formal dances. Meanwhile, over at the Washington Navy Yard, they were staging mock battles, like big performances.
And wasn't there something about baseball?
Yeah. Apparently, the Marines stationed in Guantanamo Bay celebrated that year by having their baseball team beat a local Cuban team 9-8. That was part of the celebration.
Huh. A baseball win as part of the official proceedings. Love it. But the real formal ritual, the one with all the specific rules, that came later. 1952 with Commandant Shepard. The cake ceremony.
Ah, yes, the cake ceremony. This is like the absolute core nugget of the modern celebration. It's very prescribed. Specific actions focused on passing down honor and connecting generations. So the first piece of cake, it must be presented to the oldest Marine present, ceremonially.
Honoring the past, the experience.
Exactly. Their endurance, the legacy they represent.
And second piece.
That goes to the youngest Marine present, symbolizing the future, the continuity, the next generation taking up the tradition.
Oldest and youngest. That's powerful symbolism.
It is. And then, following that cake cutting, there's always the reading, that solemn public reading of General Lejeune's Order 47.
Bringing it full circle back to Lejeune every year.
Every year. It's an unbroken chain.
Now, beyond the birthday party, Marines also get specific honors in formal military settings, right? Places of honor.
They do. It's called positional honors. They have the privilege, the right to form up on the right flank of a line or the very head of a column. In naval tradition, those are the spots reserved for seniority and honor. It's a marked distinction.
Yeah. And we absolutely have to mention their music. The bands are historically significant.
Hugely significant. The Marine Band is actually the oldest professional musical organization in the entire U.S. Armed Forces. And they have that unique title, the President's Own, because they perform at all the White House state functions. It's part of their identity.
Wow, oldest in the whole military.
And then there's the Marines Hymn. That's their official hymn, and it also holds a title. The oldest official song in the U.S. military. These aren't small details. They constantly reinforce that long, distinct history.
That continuity, it really does speak volumes.
Okay, bringing us towards today, what's their main focus now, their specialization?
Well, they operate within the Department of the Navy, but they really specialize in assignments on land and in the air. They're key for security at U.S. embassies and missions overseas. But their historic and current major specialization is amphibious landings. You know, operations moving from sea to shore under fire.
Like Guadalcanal. Guadalcanal is the classic example mentioned in the sources.
Mm-hmm.
August 1942. That was the first major American offensive in the Pacific, and it was a defining amphibious operation for the Marines.
Okay, so we've really traced the military foundation here from, that tavern in 1775 through the disbandment, the rebirth, Order 47, the cake ceremony. It's all built on this idea of Semper Fidelis, that structural loyalty. But the sources you sent us, they did something really interesting here at the end. They took this military idea and kind of synthesized it, connected it to other areas of life.
Yeah, that's where this deep dive gets really thought-provoking. The material draws this distinct parallel. It suggests that the motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful, acts almost like protection, like the armor of God concept mentioned. The idea is that sticking to principles, being loyal, gives you strength, a defense.
Right. And it wasn't just spiritual. The sources connected it to physical structures, too. There was that example about needing like extraordinary work to strengthen the foundations of the Salt Lake Temple.
Exactly. Making sure it could withstand, quote, the forces of nature. It presents this neutral parallel. Whether it's a building or an institution or maybe even a person, strong foundations need deliberate, sometimes extraordinary reinforcement.
So it seems the core message coming through all these threads is about structural integrity.
That seems to be the synthesis, yes. Regardless of the domain, military, physical, personal, the emphasis is on that integrity. Knowledge of your history, loyalty, following the rules or principles. They aren't just nice ideas. They're treated as like concrete structural elements needed to last.
It really drives home that idea that following the laws or the established way, like reading Order 47 every year, is what keeps things strong, like maintenance for the foundation.
Absolutely. The repetition, the ritual, the consistency,
Mm-hmm.
that is the maintenance. That's the armor. That annual reading stops the foundation from cracking.
So we've gone from the Continental Marines, who kind of faded away for a bit, all the way to the president's own band today. This whole deep dive really shows that Semper Fidelis, that loyalty, isn't just a feeling. It seems to be built piece by piece from hundreds of these small, specific, repeated traditions, dictated by orders, remembered in ceremonies.
I'm thinking about how the source material stresses strengthening foundations, physical, spiritual, historical, and knowing where that loyalty comes from. It does make you reflect. So here's a final thought for you, the listener. What orders, what foundational principles, maybe in your own work or your personal life, what needs revisiting? What might benefit from being perhaps not literally read aloud, but consciously reaffirmed each year, like Order 47, to make sure your foundations are strong enough to handle whatever forces come your way?
Thank you for joining us for this day in his story, created by American Heritage Worldwide. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now.